One quiet afternoon in downtown Washington, D.C., the sun cast its warm glow over the city's cobbled streets, bustling eateries, and busy sidewalks. Among the many restaurants lining the thoroughfare was a trendy new spot called Gilded Fork. Known for its luxurious ambiance and refined cuisine, Gilded Fork was frequented by politicians, celebrities, and socialites. Its gold-trimmed interiors, soft jazz music, and Instagram-worthy dishes made it one of the most coveted dining spots in the city. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Inside the restaurant, the mood was one of sophisticated elegance. Waiters in crisp, white uniforms glided between tables, balancing plates of artisanal creations. Diners chattered softly, clinking glasses of sparkling wine as they enjoyed their meals. At one corner table, however, a small group of staff huddled together, whispering fervently. The subject of their conversation was a lanky young teenager sitting by the window, his blonde hair gleaming in the sunlight. He wore a casual outfit, dark jeans, a simple black hoodie, and sneakers, but something about him seemed familiar. "Is that Barron Trump?" whispered one of the waitresses, her eyes darting nervously toward the boy. "Looks like him," said another staff member, frowning. "Why is he here alone? Shouldn't he be at some fancy event with his parents?" The restaurant manager, a stern man named Victor, strode over, glancing at the boy before crossing his arms. "We don't need this kind of attention," he muttered, clearly irked. "If that really is Barron Trump, then the paparazzi will be here any minute disrupting our other guests. And let's not forget the potential backlash on social media if people find out we're hosting someone from the Trump family." "But he's just a kid," the waitress protested. Victor shook his head firmly. "It doesn't matter. I'm not risking Gilded Fork's reputation. Let's ask him to leave. Politely, of course." Reluctantly, the waitress approached Barron's table. The teenager, who had been quietly scrolling through his phone, looked up with a calm, polite expression as she explained the situation. Her words were carefully chosen, but the message was clear. He was not welcome. Barron's face remained impassive as he nodded, rose from his seat, and made his way out of the restaurant without a word. His demeanor was poised, even as several diners turned to watch him leave. Minutes later, the staff returned to their duties, and Victor seemed pleased with how smoothly the situation had been handled. However, they had no idea what was about to unfold. A sleek black car pulled up outside the Gilded Fork, and the air seemed to shift as its door opened. Out stepped Melania Trump, the former First Lady, her presence commanding immediate attention. Her tailored coat and designer heels reflected her characteristic elegance, and her expression was one of serene determination. Melania entered the restaurant with a measured grace, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on Victor, who stiffened at the sight of her. The entire restaurant fell silent as diners recognized her, their curiosity piqued. Whispers rippled through the room. Approaching Victor, Melania spoke in a calm yet firm tone, her Slovenian accent lending her words an air of authority. "Good afternoon. I believe my son was asked to leave your establishment moments ago. I would like to understand why." Victor swallowed hard, struggling to maintain his composure under the former First Lady's piercing gaze. "Mrs. Trump," he began, his voice slightly faltering, "we have a policy to ensure the privacy and comfort of all our guests. Your son's presence might have caused disruptions." Melania interrupted him with a raised hand. "Disruptions? My son was sitting quietly, disturbing no one. Is that not correct?" Her voice was calm, but there was an unmistakable edge to it. The waitress who had approached Barron earlier stepped forward hesitantly. "That's true, ma'am. He was very polite and kept to himself." Melania's gaze softened as she turned to the waitress, nodding her acknowledgement before fixing her attention back on Victor. "Yet you chose to humiliate him by asking him to leave. Do you treat all your guests this way, or is this treatment reserved for my family?" Victor felt beads of sweat forming on his brow. "It was not meant to be personal," he said hastily. "We simply—" Melania's voice rose slightly, cutting him off. "It was personal. You judged my son based on his last name, not his behavior. You allowed your prejudice to overshadow your professionalism." The tension in the restaurant was palpable. The diners watched, captivated, as Melania continued, her voice steady and resolute. "My son has endured more scrutiny and unwarranted judgment than most adults will in their lifetimes. He did not choose to be in the public eye, yet he carries himself with dignity. You owe him an apology." Victor, realizing the gravity of his mistake, stammered, "You're right, Mrs. Trump. I sincerely apologize for any offense caused. Please allow me to personally extend an invitation for Barron to return, and his meal will be on the house." Melania's expression remained unreadable as she considered his words. "Your apology is a start," she said finally, "but it is not enough." Turning to the diners, Melania addressed the room. Let this be a reminder that we should not judge others hastily. My son may bear a well-known name, but he is, above all, a young man deserving of respect and kindness, as is every child." The restaurant erupted in applause. Some diners even stood, moved by her words and the grace with which she handled the situation. Melania's presence had turned what could have been a simple confrontation into a profound moment of reflection for everyone present. Before leaving, Melania glanced at Victor one last time. "I hope you will treat your future guests with more understanding. Good day." With that, she turned and exited the restaurant, her heels clicking against the marble floor, leaving the staff and diners to ponder the lesson she had imparted. Outside, Barron stood by the car, his calm demeanor unchanged as his mother approached. "Let's go," she said softly, placing a protective hand on his shoulder. The driver opened the door, and together, they left the scene. The fallout for Gilded Fork was swift and significant. Within hours, the incident was trending on social media, with eyewitness accounts and videos of Melania's graceful yet firm response going viral. The restaurant's Yelp page was flooded with negative reviews, criticizing its treatment of a teenager who had done nothing wrong. Calls for boycotts spread rapidly, and even some regular patrons expressed their disappointment publicly. In an effort to repair the damage, Victor issued a formal statement, apologizing to the Trump family and acknowledging the poor judgment shown that day. He promised to implement new staff training on impartiality and guest treatment, but the damage had already been done. Meanwhile, Melania and Barron carried on with their lives, unfazed by the media frenzy. Barron, as always, maintained a low profile, but those who knew him admired his quiet strength and the maturity he displayed in the face of constant scrutiny. In time, the incident became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the importance of fairness and respect, regardless of one's background or last name. And for those who had witnessed it firsthand, it was a day they would never forget. A day when grace, dignity, and a mother's love for her son took center stage. Outside the Gilded Fork, life in Washington, D.C. carried on as usual, with pedestrians bustling about their day, tourists snapping photos, and cars honking in the busy streets. Yet for those who had witnessed the encounter between Melania Trump and the restaurant's management, the moment lingered in their minds. Melania's words had struck a chord, and the dignity with which she defended her son left an indelible impression. Barron Trump, despite being a teenager, had become a figure of intrigue over the years. He was often seen as a reserved young man, carefully staying out of the spotlight while his family's every move was scrutinized by the media. Unlike his siblings, who were often vocal and active in public roles, Barron seemed to prefer a quieter life, content to focus on his education and personal interests. Yet his tall stature and striking resemblance to his father meant he was frequently recognized, even in casual settings like the one at Gilded Fork. What made the incident even more poignant was the realization that Barron, though born into wealth and privilege, had faced a unique kind of challenge. One where every action, no matter how innocuous, could spark unwarranted criticism. For many, seeing him treated unfairly in a public space served as a stark reminder that fame and privilege do not shield one from unkindness. In the days following the incident, the story spread like wildfire across news outlets and social media platforms. News anchors debated the ethical responsibilities of public establishments when dealing with high-profile patrons. Opinion columns discussed the pressures faced by children of public figures and the importance of separating an individual from their family's political legacy. While some criticized Gilded Fork for its treatment of Barron, others empathized with the restaurant's desire to avoid potential controversy. However, a significant majority sided with Barron and Melania. The internet was flooded with messages of support for the teenager, with hashtags like #RespectBarron trending for days. Public figures, from celebrities to politicians, voiced their opinions, many commending Melania for her composed yet powerful response. Even those who had little love for the Trump administration found themselves admiring the way she stood up for her son without resorting to hostility or theatrics. Among the myriad of voices speaking out on the matter was a former White House staffer who had worked closely with the Trump family during their time in the White House. In a heartfelt op-ed, she recounted her observations of Barron as a thoughtful and polite young man who often preferred solitude to the limelight. "Barron possesses a quiet strength," she wrote. "He doesn't seek attention, yet he handles it with grace when it comes his way. His mother's protective instincts are not only understandable, but commendable." Meanwhile, the staff at Gilded Fork grappled with the fallout. Victor, the manager, called an emergency meeting to address the growing backlash. "We need to fix this," he told his team, pacing back and forth in the restaurant's empty dining area. "This isn't just about one incident. It's about our reputation and the kind of establishment we want to be." The team brainstormed ways to make amends. They considered hosting a charity event to support organizations promoting kindness and inclusion. They also planned to invite Melania and Barron back for a private dining experience, hoping to show their sincerity. Yet despite their efforts, the restaurant's reputation had taken a serious hit. Bookings dropped and regular patrons began canceling reservations. One afternoon, as Victor sat in his office reviewing a flood of emails, a particular message caught his attention. It was from a woman named Clara Thompson, a school teacher from Virginia who had followed the story closely. As someone who teaches young minds every day, her email read, "I believe this incident is a valuable opportunity for growth, not just for your establishment, but for the broader community. I suggest you consider organizing a public forum or discussion on treating others with empathy and respect, regardless of their background. Let this unfortunate event spark a meaningful conversation." Victor pondered the idea and, after consulting with the restaurant's owner, decided to take Clara's suggestion to heart. They partnered with local organizations and schools to host an event titled "Breaking Barriers, Building Respect and Understanding in a Divided World." Held in a nearby community center, the event featured panel discussions, workshops, and personal stories from individuals who had faced prejudice or judgment based on their family, background, or beliefs. The event drew a diverse crowd, including families, students, educators, and professionals. To everyone's surprise, Melania Trump herself made an appearance, accompanied by Barron. Her presence added a sense of gravitas to the occasion, and she was warmly welcomed by the attendees. Taking the stage, Melania spoke candidly about the challenges her family had faced and the importance of teaching children the values of kindness and resilience. Her speech was met with a standing ovation, and even those who had been critical of the Trump family found themselves moved by her words. Barron, though shy by nature, also spoke briefly, sharing his perspective on the incident. "It's easy to make assumptions about people based on their name or appearance," he said, his deep voice steady. "But assumptions don't define who we are. Actions and character do." His words, though few, carried weight, and the audience responded with heartfelt applause. The event proved to be a turning point, not just for Gilded Fork, but for everyone involved. It sparked meaningful dialogue and inspired many to reflect on their own biases and how they treated others. The restaurant gradually regained its footing, with patrons appreciating its efforts to turn a negative experience into a force for good. For Melania and Barron, life returned to its familiar rhythm. Though the incident at Gilded Fork had left its mark, it was a reminder of the constant challenges they faced as a family in the public eye. But it also reinforced the strength of their bond. Melania continued to be a steadfast advocate for her son, and Barron, despite his youth, emerged as a figure of quiet resilience. As time went on, the story of the restaurant incident became something of a modern parable, a tale of prejudice, grace, and redemption. It served as a reminder that even in moments of conflict, there is an opportunity for growth and understanding. And for those who were present that day, it was a moment they would never forget, a testament to the power of compassion and the courage it takes to stand up for what is right. The story of the Gilded Fork incident did not simply fade into obscurity, it rippled outward, influencing countless lives in unexpected ways. For the Trump family, the event became a rare opportunity to shift public perception and connect with people on a more human level. For the staff and management of the restaurant, it marked the beginning of a profound transformation, both personally and professionally. As the weeks passed, Melania Trump's speech at the Breaking Barriers event gained widespread attention. Clips of her calm yet impassioned words circulated online, drawing praise from even some of her harshest critics. Barron's brief yet poignant remarks too resonated with many. The teenager, often seen but rarely heard, had offered a glimpse into his introspective nature, sparking admiration and curiosity. The event didn't just bolster public sympathy for the Trumps, it also created lasting connections. Educators, activists, and community leaders who attended began forming networks to further the conversation about empathy and mutual respect. One of the attendees, a high school principal named David Foster, was so inspired by the event that he launched a new program at his school called Walk In, encouraged students to learn about others' experiences through storytelling, role-playing, and open discussions. Empathy is a skill that needs practice, Foster explained in an interview with a local news station. The incident with Barron Trump reminded us that even those who seem untouchable face challenges. It's our responsibility to foster understanding, especially among young people. The program quickly gained traction, with other schools in the district adopting similar models. Students who had once been indifferent or even dismissive toward others' struggles began showing a noticeable shift in attitude. Stories emerged of bullies apologizing to their victims, cliques breaking down barriers, and new friendships forming across social and cultural divides. For the Gilded Fork, the aftermath of the incident proved to be both a humbling and galvanizing experience. Victor, the restaurant manager, took it upon himself to overhaul the restaurant's policies and training programs. He worked closely with consultants to develop a customer service protocol that emphasized respect and fairness, regardless of a guest's background or perceived notoriety. "I never want another guest to feel unwelcome or judged in our establishment," Victor stated in a press release. "What happened with Barron Trump was a failure on my part as a leader. It's a mistake I'm committed to learning from." To reinforce this commitment, the restaurant began hosting monthly Dine with Dignity events, where a portion of the proceeds was donated to charities promoting inclusivity and anti-bullying efforts. These evenings featured special menus and guest speakers who shared their personal experiences with prejudice and overcoming adversity. The events drew a diverse crowd, from regular patrons to newcomers curious about the restaurant's mission. Melania and Barron, though busy with their own lives, stayed connected to the restaurant's journey. On one occasion, they returned quietly for a private dinner, at Victor's insistence. This time, the atmosphere was vastly different. The staff welcomed them warmly, ensuring every detail of their experience was flawless. As they dined, other guests discreetly admired their grace and composure, respecting their privacy while silently acknowledging the significance of the moment. For Barron, the Gilded Fork episode became a stepping stone in his journey towards self-awareness and resilience. While he continued to live a low-profile life, he began to embrace opportunities to engage with causes close to his heart. One such cause was mental health awareness, particularly for young people. Recognizing the unique pressures faced by children of public figures, Barron quietly supported organizations providing counseling and resources for those struggling to cope with public scrutiny. In one rare public appearance, Barron spoke at a youth mental health summit, sharing his thoughts on navigating life in the spotlight. "It's easy to feel isolated when people only see the surface," he said, his voice steady but thoughtful. "But no one is defined by a single moment or a family name. What matters is how we treat ourselves and each other." His speech, though brief, left a lasting impression, earning him a standing ovation and solidifying his place as a quiet but impactful advocate. Meanwhile, Melania resumed her work on her Be Best initiative, which gained renewed momentum in the wake of the incident. She expanded the program's scope to include workshops on digital etiquette, aiming to combat the toxic culture of online shaming and cancellation. She collaborated with tech companies, schools, and advocacy groups to promote positive online behavior, encouraging young people to think critically before passing judgment or spreading negativity. "Words have power," Melania stated in one of her speeches. "They can build bridges or create walls. We must teach the next generation to choose kindness, both in person and online." Her message, amplified by her personal experience defending Barron, resonated deeply with parents and educators alike. At the same time, the incident at Gilded Fork sparked a broader cultural conversation about the double standards and biases faced by public figures and their families. Media outlets began examining their role in shaping narratives, questioning whether their coverage perpetuated harmful stereotypes or undue scrutiny. Some publications even issued op-eds, acknowledging the need for more responsible reporting, particularly when it came to children of high-profile individuals. Among the most significant outcomes of the Gilded Fork incident was the formation of a new advocacy group called Shield the Innocent. Founded by parents of public figures, the group aimed to protect children from media overexposure and unwarranted criticism. They lobbied for stronger privacy laws and guidelines for ethical reporting, emphasizing the importance of allowing young people to grow and learn without the weight of public judgment. The group quickly gained traction, with members ranging from politicians and celebrities to ordinary citizens who believed in the cause. Melania, though not officially affiliated with the organization, voiced her support, attending fundraisers and offering guidance. Her involvement lent the group credibility and visibility, helping it secure key legislative victories in several states. As the months turned into years, the memory of the Gilded Fork incident continued to inspire change. The restaurant, once a symbol of exclusion, became a beacon of inclusivity, drawing patrons who valued its commitment to fairness and respect. Its story was even featured in a documentary exploring how moments of conflict could spark meaningful growth and transformation. For Barron Trump, the experience became a defining chapter in his adolescence, shaping his worldview and strengthening his character. It taught him the value of resilience and the importance of standing up for oneself and others. Though he rarely sought the spotlight, his quiet strength and thoughtful actions spoke volumes, earning him respect and admiration from those who knew him, and even those who didn't. The transformative ripple effect of the Gilded Fork incident extended beyond the immediate circles of those directly involved. It infiltrated the broader cultural consciousness, sparking a renewed emphasis on empathy, particularly toward individuals often dehumanized by public perception. For many, the situation highlighted the universal struggle of navigating judgment, whether for one's background, choices, or associations. One unexpected beneficiary of the incident was the culinary world itself. Restaurant owners and hospitality professionals across the country began reflecting on their treatment of patrons, especially those who might draw attention due to fame or notoriety. Industry seminars and workshops on inclusivity and bias in customer service began to spring up. Chefs and restaurateurs were reminded that their establishments, often seen as havens of comfort and enjoyment, carried a deeper social responsibility. "A meal isn't just food on a plate," noted one renowned chef during a hospitality conference. "It's an experience, a moment of connection, and everyone deserves to feel welcomed." As word of the incident and its aftermath spread internationally, Gilded Fork unexpectedly became a case study in how businesses could recover from public relations crises. A prestigious business school included the restaurant's journey in its curriculum, presenting it as a real-world example of brand redemption. The course encouraged future leaders to prioritize integrity and adaptability in moments of misjudgment. Students who studied the case were struck by the power of humility, acknowledging that a single moment of self-reflection could yield monumental shifts in culture and policy. Melania Trump, who had initially been at the center of the incident, quietly continued her efforts to promote the values she championed during her tenure as First Lady. She began working closely with schools across the nation, advocating for stronger anti-bullying programs and digital literacy curricula. Her visits to schools, often unpublicized, left lasting impressions on the students who met her. Teachers would later recount how her calm demeanor and genuine interest in their well-being inspired students to take her lessons to heart. Barron, too, quietly grew into his own. His experience at the Gilded Fork had provided him with a nuanced understanding of societal dynamics, and he used this knowledge to contribute in subtle yet meaningful ways. He became a regular volunteer at local community centers, helping underprivileged children with their schoolwork and providing mentorship to those struggling with self-esteem. His presence was a reminder that everyone, regardless of their background, had their own battles, and his quiet encouragement motivated many young people to pursue their goals despite the odds. Beyond his personal growth, Barron's actions cultivated a sense of collective accountability in his generation. Inspired by his grace under pressure, a group of students in New York launched an initiative called Name Beyond Fame, which sought to foster understanding among peers from diverse backgrounds. The program encouraged participants to share their stories and find common ground, bridging divides created by societal labels and preconceived notions. The story of the Gilded Fork incident, retold in podcasts, articles, and even fictionalized in a novel, ultimately became a symbol of the transformative power of small but profound moments. It reminded the world that no matter how divided society may seem, change begins with the courage to confront our biases and the compassion to see others for who they truly are. It was a legacy rooted in a single quiet moment of resolve, a mother standing firm, a son rising above, and a community learning to grow together. In the months that followed, the Gilded Fork incident took on a life of its own, becoming a catalyst for broader discussions about grace under fire, the human cost of fame, and the ability of ordinary moments to spark extraordinary change. It wasn't just about Barron Trump anymore. It became a story about how society could evolve when individuals confronted their own prejudices and embraced humility. Journalists and commentators began framing the incident as a modern fable, a story in which the actions of a single family highlighted the complexities of living in an era where every move was scrutinized. Opinion pieces poured in from across the political spectrum, many marveling at how Melania Trump managed to turn an awkward, almost trivial episode into a teachable moment that resonated with millions. In a time rife with division, her calm but firm approach seemed to transcend the usual partisan lines. One of the most interesting developments came from a seemingly unlikely source: high school debate clubs. Inspired by the incident, debate coaches began using the scenario as a case study to teach students about the ethical dilemmas of public service, the responsibilities of business owners, and the nuances of personal accountability. Debaters were tasked with arguing both sides of the situation, which encouraged them to think critically about the intersection of privacy, reputation, and hospitality. Many students, after grappling with these questions, expressed a newfound appreciation for the complexities of human interaction in a hyper-connected world. Meanwhile, the Trumps themselves carried on with their lives, but the narrative of the incident quietly became part of their broader legacy. Melania's poise and measured response earned her invitations to speak at events focused on parenting in the public eye and the importance of mental health for children growing up in high-pressure environments. She accepted only a few, choosing to remain largely private, but the impact of her message was undeniable. Her emphasis on teaching empathy resonated with parents struggling to shield their children from the harsher aspects of modern life. Barron, on the other hand, grew increasingly comfortable using his platform to shed light on issues that mattered to him. He partnered with organizations that supported young people facing mental health challenges, quietly funding scholarships and outreach programs. While he continued to keep a low profile, those who worked alongside him often spoke of his calm presence and deep sense of compassion. "He listens more than he speaks," one nonprofit director noted, "but when he does speak, his words carry weight." The legacy of the Gilded Fork incident extended beyond personal growth and community discussions. It spurred a broader reckoning within industries that intersected with fame and public perception. Restaurants, schools, media outlets, and even tech companies began reevaluating their roles in shaping societal norms. This led to a wave of initiatives designed to promote ethical practices and reduce harm, especially to vulnerable individuals. The cultural shift triggered by the Gilded Fork incident continued to unfold quietly but profoundly, leaving an imprint on various facets of society. Schools introduced workshops encouraging students to reflect on how judgments based on assumptions could lead to alienation. Community centers organized panels that brought together people from different walks of life to share their experiences with bias and exclusion. These dialogues fostered an environment of understanding, reminding participants of the importance of looking beyond surface impressions. Restaurants, particularly high-end establishments, adopted new training modules aimed at cultivating sensitivity and professionalism among staff. These programs emphasize the importance of making every guest feel valued, regardless of their background, fame, or perceived potential to draw controversy. "Our job is to serve, not to judge," became a mantra in the hospitality industry, inspired by the lessons learned from Gilded Fork's misstep. Even the media took subtle cues from the event, exercising greater care to respect their privacy and humanity. It was a quiet but significant evolution, a testament to how a single incident could ripple outward, reshaping behaviors, fostering growth, and leaving a legacy of compassion that transcended the moment itself. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on a restaurant kicking out Barron Trump? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.